Let's jump around the league and do winners and losers, and then I wanted to talk about the Copa just a little bit, and then we can get out of here. Does that sound good? No? Okay. For winners and losers around MLS this week, winners, I got the LA Galaxy. I mentioned this at the top of the show. Joey Paints is back from injury.
Thank God.
He scored a goal. The Galaxy hung 4 goals on Sporting Kansas City, the club of professional wrestling enthusiasts, in a 4-2 victory home for LA. And I mean, I just think the fact that Joey Paints is back and you get 4 goals, I don't think that means that the Galaxy are for sure back just based off one game, but I think it means that, I mean, they've got a key part of their personnel back. And I still think, despite the fact that they've struggled and the Galaxy agenda has taken a hit in recent weeks, I just think like when they're at the top of their game in attack, it's the most electric attack in MLS, I still think, besides when Inter Miami is like peak Inter Miami.
Yeah.
That's how I still think of the Galaxy, which I think a lot of their shine has seemingly worn off, but I still look at them that way. And I think this showed like that top level that they're capable of. They just can't stop conceding goals.
No, they love doing that.
They love that.
Yeah.
So I don't expect that to stop, but when you can score 3 to 5 goals like they can at the drop of the hat when they are at their top level, that can mask a lot of defensive deficiencies. And I don't know if they'll win MLS Cup off that, because usually when you get to the playoffs, the defenses get better and it's a little harder to pop off like they can pop off. But if they get hot like at the end of the season, no one's going to want to play them. No. Are you kidding me?
It's very classic MLS because, you only have DP. You have 3 DP spots, so you're really not going to 99% of teams, unless you're doing a designated team model, are going to go and get, an attacking player as a DP. So it's really hard to get like a
see DP defensive mids and CBs like sometimes.
Yeah.
But like, you're right. Like generally speaking, most teams are going to pump that money into the attack. And then, you have, less than optimal defending at times.
Exactly. It's the Inter Miami model.
Yeah. They just they took that to the extreme, and it low-key kind of worked.
Yeah, exactly.
My second winner for the week, Chicago Fire. They just randomly bammed on Toronto FC 4-1. Not really what I expected at all. Toronto FC has been talked about as being surprisingly good this year, and rightfully so. They've definitely surpassed my expectations in their first year under John Herdman. I just think it's fun. It's a classic MLS thing where the Chicago Fire have been one of the worst teams in the league all year. They probably couldn't even tell you the last time they scored 4 goals in a game.
Yeah.
They famously don't score a lot of goals, and the Chicago Fire, they love blowing leads more than any team I think I've ever seen in any sport. It's absolutely like, if the Chicago Fire have a lead, I don't even consider the notion that they're going to see out whatever game they're playing with that same lead. It's without fail, and it's unreal to watch. I can't believe they held the lead in this game. But when you score 4, that's what happens. And I think I wanted to give the Fire some shine for a week because they're probably not going to be getting all that much this season, so good dub for them.
Yeah, it is quite funny that I'm just looking here on FootMob and the predictions that people made. It was 65% of people thought Toronto would win, 15% thought it would be a draw, and 20% thought Chicago would bam. And yeah, it's quite funny, especially because they hadn't won an away game in their last 8 matches.
Yeah, exactly. Just absolutely out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then I got the Colorado Rapids for their 2-0 victory over Austin FC, and I think the Rapids, like, I'm ready to say that they're better than I thought they would be. They were another team. They were picked to be like a Chicago Fire tier team, and it's another coaching hire, like an MLS retread coaching hire that everyone made fun of and was like, how could you possibly hire Chris Armas? He's the worst coach of all time, which his tenure at Toronto FC was famously disastrous. And
it was pretty bad.
Quite comedic in a lot of ways, though, like just the drama and just insane stuff that happened. So I understand where the anti-Armas sentiment comes from. But, I mean, you can't deny that he has this Rapids team, like, playing decently well. Like, they're a mid-team, but when you were expected to be as bad as they were, like, mid is a pretty good outcome because, I mean, it seems like they're making progress. And they have Georgi Mihailovic, who they're building around. And there's also stats to suggest that their signing of Zach Steffen, which that's another one that took a little bit of criticism at the time, but that's not working out very well. And honestly, if they had even average goalkeeping instead of some of the worst in the league, they would be even higher up the table. Like the stat I saw was that their GD would be like plus like 6 or 7 instead of what it is right now, which is even after they beat Austin 2-0. So Colorado not actually that bad. That's my takeaway there.
I think that's a good. You've been banging on that. I feel like that they're not the worst. They're not the best. But
I just wasn't sure about it yet, and like they were playing an Austin team that I don't think is very good at all. But again, it's similar to what I was saying about Seattle. Like they get credit there for taking care of business against an undermanned, inferior opponent. And I know Austin's record is like roughly the same, but I don't believe in that.
It is, it is crazy that Zach Steffen has just become a bot.
He's one of the worst in the league right now.
It's like crazy.
Like, statistically.
Like Man City, I guess it just shows, being in a system matters more than being an individual player. But man, that's just crazy. I mean,
and he was good. He was goalkeeper of the year when he was on the Crew, which I know a lot of people thought that he shouldn't have been, but he did have a really good year that year.
Yeah.
Looking back on it though, I'm like, Man City, like,
bro,
really?
Bro played like 21 matches for Man City. That's crazy.
And now he's toiling.
Yeah.
On the Colorado Rapids, statistically one of the worst goalkeepers in MLS. A kind of slept on storyline.
Yeah. We need a whole documentary about that.
We want the 30 for 30 on the downfall of Zach Steffen.
Exactly.
Loser section.
Zach Steffen. No.
I had the Philly Union.
Oh, even worse.
This was one of the craziest L's I've seen an MLS team take in some time. The Philly Union were playing Inter Miami at home at Subaru Park, where they've just been clowning for like the last month or so. Remember when Seattle was going there to play that game, and I was talking about how dominant they were at home?
Yeah.
That Seattle game was kind of in the midst of this stretch where they have no home field advantage at all. And if anything, every team going in there right now has to feel great about their chances of getting a result. This latest one was a gut punch, to say the least. The Philly Union were tied with Inter Miami 1-1 late in the game. And Inter Miami was down to 9 men. They got a red card at some point in the second half, and then they got a late one in like the 84th or 85th minute. They were down to 9 men, and so Philly had the rest of the match, which was 5 or 6 minutes, plus stoppage time to try and score against a 9-man team and take a home victory. And instead, they gave up a game winner to Inter Miami, who had no Lionel Messi, who's away with Argentina for the Copa, to a guy who, Leo Alfonso, who was a super draft pick, I believe, who was playing at the University of Virginia last year, bammed on.
Bammed.
Like,
banger.
The Philly Union are cooked. Like,
no, they're chalked.
They're so cooked. Like, just when you factor in the run of L's that they took at home, on top of this L where you lose to a team with 9 men, doesn't have any of their superstar players, they're just praying to get anything out of the game, and instead they get 2 red cards. And you give up a game winner to Leo Alfonso, who I was looking him up because I didn't really know much about him. And it seems like a kind of situation where he played college soccer when realistically he was like way too good for that level. So I think it's not like he's just a total rando super draft pick, but I mean still like
he was in the Union Academy as well. So another dub for the Union.
Yeah, like and I think he switched from Philly to Inter Miami, and then chose to play college at Virginia. So, but it's just a really random guy to get bammed on with no Lionel Messi in the game.
Yeah, he's like a next pro star. Like he's played 3 matches and scored 4 goals in next pro, and then he's played 8 matches for Inter Miami. Probably 90% of those are off the bench. Scored 2 goals. Like
it's a mind-boggling L for the Philly Union to take on their home field, especially in the context of the rest of the results they've taken there lately. The Vancouver Whitecaps down bad, lost 3-2 to the Revs, who I think the Revs have won 3 straight now, or 3 or 4 or something. So they're looking a little like the Revs were on a like worst wooden spoon team of all time type pace in terms of the stats they were putting up over a relatively small sample size still to start the season, but still just a terrible start under Caleb Porter. But But so they've been playing a little bit better than that, which that doesn't surprise me that that's evening out a little bit, because I do think that, I mean, there's still some talented players on the Revs. Carlos Gil is one of the best players in the league at one point, and I still think he's got that level in him. And Dylan Barrero and Noel Buck are pretty good young players, and they've got some good MLS vets. So I was surprised to see them that bad. But the Whitecaps should still be handling that team if the Whitecaps are what we thought they were earlier in the season. Which I think we talked about them as a like a mid-tier team that was on the precipice of becoming an upper-tier team and had started to look and play like an upper-tier team. And seeing this result, I'm just like, guys. Like, if you want to be an upper tier team in the league, as the Whitecaps have been billed as, you gotta handle the Revs right there. At least take a point.
Yeah, you got to take a point. It's sad. It's like funny enough, people will say like, "Oh, the Vancouver or the Sounders Rebels." I'm rooting for them. I'm rooting for them to do well. Like
I like
they're
I like Scottish
out.
Messi, and I love Vanni Sartini.
Yeah,
like I really want them. I want them to do well because I want him to stay in the league as much as possible because of his like entertaining press conferences.
Yeah, exactly. So pick it up, boys. Pick it up.
Come on, Caps. And then finally, I've got the San Jose Earthquakes, who got absolutely bammed on 4-2 at home by FC Cincinnati.
They're so bad, dude.
Yeah,
they're so bad.
Like, I know they don't have the worst record in the league right now, but
they have the least amount of points, though.
Oh,
right?
they do.
They have 11.
Okay,
which
so
is
the Quakes,
5 less than the Revs.
The Quakes are charging towards a wooden spoon because Sporting Kansas City beat Seattle. It's funny. Seattle's lost to Sporting Kansas City and San Jose, who are the bottom two teams in the West right now.
Tough.
So that's not what you want.
No.
But I mean, the Quakes are one of the worst teams in the league.
Their goal differential is hilarious too. They're minus 17. They've been scored on 43 times. 43 goals against you. That's insane.
That's the most in the league. I'm looking at it right now. It's the most in the league by a long shot. No one else is more than like 35 or 36. So not good.
Not good at all.
Especially, FC Cincinnati they're a top 2 to 3 team in the league right now. And if any take that FC Cincinnati is the best team in the league right now, I wouldn't necessarily argue with that. I mean, I think that Inter Miami, like FC Cincinnati is still doing the thing where they're winning every game that they win by 1 goal. But like, if you look at their results from the last few weeks, they've actually, they had another 4 spot and then they had this 4 spot. They won this game by multiple goals. So if they start performing like that consistently, I mean, they're very much up with the big dogs, which the big dogs to me right now is Inter Miami, Real Salt Lake, LAFC, Columbus Crew, not really right now.
They took an L.
And I kind of... they have to do it consistently, but I think NYCFC is right there. They went on like a insane heater in these last couple weeks where they won like 8 straight and like 9 of 10 or something, and all their young players are... They have like a team of Leo Chus that are all breaking out at the same time.
Yeah, they're hitting.
That's like what's going on at NYCFC. And they paid the price for it. Like they let those guys play a lot last year to some underwhelming results, but now they are reaping the rewards of what happens when you develop your young players and you make the right signings. So
my game to watch for this next match day is LA versus New York City FC. LA Galaxy versus New York City FC.
That's a great shout. That is easy. That's going to be one of the most fun games because you have that kind of turbocharged Galaxy attack against, I mean, NYCFC, if you want a young, fun, like pretty entertaining team that has been scoring a lot of goals, they're a good one to watch.
Either that or Columbus Inter Miami. That'll be a fun one as well.
Yeah, good shouts.